The row is fashion's ultimate contradiction. No marketing, no Instagram blitz, no celebrity front rows. And yet, it's the brand everyone's talking about, from Paris showrooms to fashion TikTok. It doesn't use influencers, it doesn't do ads, and it barely speaks. Its shows have no seating charts. Its models walk barefoot. And its best-selling bag, the Margo, costs over $6,000 and still sells out. You might wonder how that even works. Or better yet, why we keep falling for it. Because in a world built on visibility, the row built its power by staying out of reach. No slogans, no noise, just control. And is this really about taste? Or just the most calculated display of exclusivity? This isn't a rise and fall story. It's a case study in how not playing the game turned into a billion-dollar strategy. And counting. You might wonder how it even got to this point. How did two former child stars build the most serious brand in fashion? And why did anyone take it seriously? When Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen started the row in 2006, no one expected it to become the most mysterious success story in fashion. There was no extravagant launch party, no celebrity endorsements, not even a flashy logo. It began with a single white t-shirt created in deliberate defiance of everything fashion seemed to demand: trends, logos, attention. Instead, the row was about something quieter, perfection in simplicity. Clothes that draped perfectly, held their shape effortlessly, and said nothing loudly, but everything clearly. In fact, from the beginning, the Olsens refused to lean on their celebrity. After spending their childhoods under the glare of Hollywood's spotlight, the last thing they wanted was more attention. Instead, they made anonymity their signature. No marketing blitzes, no staged photo ops. Their approach was so understated it almost seemed designed to disappear. Even the brand's name, The Row, wasn't about them. It pointed directly to Savile Row, London's famed street of bespoke tailoring. It was a subtle but unmistakable message. This was no celebrity vanity project. It was a direct challenge to fashion's elite, demanding to be taken seriously. Early collections reinforced just how serious they were. Meticulously tailored coats in muted neutrals, thick, luxurious knits, crisp Japanese denim crafted to near perfection. There were no gimmicks, no flashy labels, just exceptional clothing, so quietly flawless you had to look twice to appreciate it. And slowly, without ever seeking attention, the row began catching the eyes of those who mattered most: the editors, stylists, and buyers who notice every stitch, every seam, every subtle choice. This wasn't minimalism designed for Instagram. It wasn't even quiet luxury, at least not yet. It was restraint as a discipline, a rejection of fashion as noise. And by the early 2010s, without red carpet endorsements or celebrity hype, the row had already become one of America's most respected fashion labels, by making a deliberate choice to stay quietly, elegantly out of sight. From the start, the silence around the row wasn't accidental. It was deliberate, even strategic. While every other luxury label chased clicks, followers, and viral moments, the row insisted it didn't need any of it. Instead of pushing full-look influencer campaigns or filling the front row with celebrities posing for selfies, they chose distance and restraint. Take their 2025 Paris show, for example. There was no live stream, no press preview, not even phones allowed. Guests sat in absolute quiet, watching models glide barefoot across the room like living sculptures. Coats draped immaculately, antique combs in hair, tights softly wrapped as scarves. No music played, no elaborate backdrop set the mood. Just pure focus, forcing viewers to truly see the clothes, stripped of all distraction. Even their press kits arrived without detailed descriptions. Just carefully selected images and a single note that urged observers to observe. And remarkably, this unconventional approach resonated. The less the row revealed, the more curiosity grew. Their Instagram reflected that same control. Rather than product placement or polished advertisements, the feed looked like a curated art gallery. Blurry photographs, abstract paintings, folds of fabric, and sculptural references, posted without captions or context. It wasn't there to drive sales, but to set a mood, an unmistakable atmosphere of calm sophistication in a fashion world shouting for attention. Yet beneath all this seeming nonchalance was a clear strategy, carefully reshaping their place in fashion's hierarchy. They didn't dominate social media algorithms. They dominated mood boards, buying appointments, and stylist conversations. Without ever trying to go viral, the row had become impossible to ignore. By now, the row had something every brand wants: mystique. But mystique doesn't pay the bills. What made the brand unshakably powerful was what came next: pricing. Not just expensive, unapologetically expensive. 210 euros for ribbed socks, 16,000 coats, a button-up shirt priced higher than rent in most cities. Even seasoned luxury shoppers did a double take. But at the center of it all was the Margaux, a soft, structured tote that didn't flash logos, didn't scream status, and still somehow became fashion's quietest it bag. It retailed for anywhere between $3,000 and $6,000. And sold out constantly. TikTok dubbed it the new Birkin. Resale prices spiked, waiting lists grew. The less it said, the more people wanted it. Fashion insiders called it reverse psychology. Fans just called it perfect. Searches for the Margo spiked by nearly 200%. Sample sales had lines forming at dawn. Even secondhand listings rarely lasted long, when they appeared at all. Owners often wrote things like, "Worn once, still not ready to let it go." Because by this point, it wasn't just a bag. It was proof of taste, of restraint, of being part of the inside conversation. But the obsession came with pushback, and not just overpricing. After COVID, the row laid off staff and moved parts of production from the US to Italy. It faced criticism over its lack of racial diversity. One former president sued after an abrupt firing. Whispers grew louder that the brand's ruthless pursuit of perfection came with a cost, that the serenity it projected didn't always reflect its internal culture. The clothes still looked like art. But behind the scenes, things were more complicated. And in a strange way, that made the row even more fascinating. Because now, it wasn't just a label with luxury price tags. It was a brand under scrutiny. Not despite its silence, but because of it. By this point, the row had become more than just a fashion brand. It was a symbol of taste, of privacy, of a certain type of cultural elitism that thrived on being unspoken. Its retail spaces mirrored that image: discreet locations, no signage, and interiors that felt more like contemporary art galleries than luxury boutiques. The design was intentional. So was the atmosphere. Walking into a row store wasn't about shopping. It was about being part of something not everyone could access. Even their runway shows followed strict codes. As mentioned earlier, their now famous no-phone format in 2025 had already taken root a year before, during the Autumn-Winter 2024 presentation in Paris. Guests were asked to take handwritten notes instead of filming, creating an atmosphere some praised as intimate and intentional. But not everyone agreed. Critics saw the enforced silence as curated nostalgia, or worse, luxury gatekeeping. At that point, the row wasn't just selling clothes. It was selling exclusion, packaged as restraint, and priced as aspiration. And yet, it worked so well that even the fashion world's biggest names took notice. In 2024, the Wertheimer family, owners of Chanel, and Françoise Bettencourt-Meyers, heiress to the L'Oréal fortune, quietly acquired minority stakes in the row through their family offices. The valuation, around $1 billion. For a brand that didn't advertise, didn't expand aggressively, and barely released new products on schedule, the number was staggering. But as visibility grew, the contradictions became harder to ignore. Critics pointed out that the Rose version of minimalism, pure, neutral, logo-less, had been co-opted by fast fashion and startups alike. What once felt rare now risked looking overexposed. Its price tags, once shocking, were becoming a meme. 1,100 leggings, 6,000 handbags, 300 cotton t-shirts. Loyal fans defended the quality. Others called it fashion's most beautiful scam. Internally, there were more cracks. Former employees spoke of high-pressure environments, limited diversity, and an atmosphere that didn't always reflect the calm shown on the outside. Some insiders questioned how much longer the brand could maintain its aura without evolving, or whether evolving would cost it everything. And through all this, the Row said almost nothing. It didn't apologize. It didn't explain. It didn't adjust. That silence, once its greatest weapon, was starting to feel more complicated. Because when a brand builds its identity on being unreachable, criticism becomes part of the mystique too. For years, the Row resisted scale. It kept distribution tight, messaging even tighter, and operated more like a private gallery than a global fashion brand. It didn't just avoid mass appeal. It avoided attention altogether. But even that kind of discipline has limits. By 2024, the Row was growing fast. Some reports estimated annual growth between 20 and 30%. Stockists multiplied, product lines expanded, and the brand started appearing in places that once might have felt too exposed for its philosophy. Net-a-Porter, My Theresa, Matches, even Bergdorf Goodman's famously theatrical windows began featuring the Row's pared-down world of beige and restraint. What began as a label defined by its low profile had now become a billion-dollar entity. And with major backers like the Wertheimer family and Bettencourt Meyers already involved, the pressure to scale was no longer theoretical. Growth had to deliver. But mystery, by nature, doesn't scale easily. That's the paradox the Row faces in 2025. Because even the most refined brand codes are tested under the pressure of expansion. Retailers want volume, investors expect returns, and growth, especially at this level, means broader visibility, more exposure, and harder choices. Some of those choices have already begun. Its Instagram, once an abstract collage of sculpture and art references, now includes behind-the-scenes glimpses and studio shots. Its shows, while still spare and exclusive, are increasingly discussed online. Even Mary-Kate and Ashley, long allergic to press, have given rare quotes in trade publications. The Row's menswear line, once niche and editorial, is growing steadily across Europe and Asia. The brand has launched capsule collections nodding to workwear, tailoring familiar silhouettes for a wider market. A fragrance rumored for late 2025 is generating buzz as the anti-perfume perfume, meant to smell like nothing but clean linen and restraint. Physical stores are multiplying too. New locations have opened in Seoul and Tokyo, and a redesigned Paris flagship is on the way. Each space is still carefully controlled. No logos, no noise, just soft lighting and minimal interiors. But the experience is more accessible now. What used to be elusive is starting to feel available. And for some loyalists, that's the problem. There's chatter about creative direction, about whether the Row can maintain its aura while expanding into beauty, lifestyle, and broader product categories. Even the Margo, once famously impossible to find, is now regularly restocked, prompting a familiar luxury world debate. Was scarcity ever real, or just part of the myth? Because at some point, if everyone gets in on the secret, it's no longer a secret. That's the challenge the Row now faces. Can a brand built on staying out of reach still thrive when it's suddenly everywhere? Can it scale without softening? Or is the mystique itself the product? And once that's gone, what's left? Of course, the Row still holds power. Its restraint still reads as rare in a world of noise. But as it enters this new chapter, More global, more lucrative, more discussed. The tension is real. Can a brand built on inaccessibility survive mass relevance? Or is mystery just the most elegant form of marketing, and the row its most flawless case study? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.